Hi everyone, I'm April and you're watching the Tangled Cat Speaks. This is the last day of November 2021. So for those in the US, we just had our Thanksgiving pass this week. So happy Thanksgiving to anybody who celebrates, and even if you don't, I'm still thankful for you, and I hope that you found or still find or continue to find something to be thankful for. This is mainly a knitting and crocheting podcast. Sometimes I do talk about books that I read or shows that I watch. Sometimes I talk a little bit about life, but it's not a lot, so don't worry. What else? Let's see. Thank you for any new viewers who have subscribed. Thank you for any new viewers who haven't subscribed but are still here. And thank you for all the people who have been subscribed. I appreciate you and I am thankful for you. Let's see. So let's go ahead and get right on into it. Speaking of Thanksgiving, this was the first year. Oh, I got floof in my nose. Excuse me. This is the first year that I didn't do Thanksgiving in my home. My youngest son and his fiance did Thanksgiving in their home. They did all the cooking on their own. They did have me there if they had a question or anything like that, but they basically did everything on their own, and it was delicious. It was so good. Had a wonderful time with that. I think that for me, my favorite Thanksgiving food, foods. I like the turkey and the mashed potatoes and stuffing and cranberry sauce. There's all of the extra trimmings that I do like, but if it came down to having to pick just the basics, that's what I would have. I love it. And I'm going to be real. I prefer the canned cranberry sauce, the jellied cranberry sauce that comes out in one big tower when you get it out of the can. It's a little sweet, so I do add some orange juice to it, just a little bit too, and mush it all up, and just to kind of cut the sweetness a little bit. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I love the what is it? Is it Ocean Spray? I'll even get the Walmart brand. I don't care. I love the canned cranberry sauce. I don't need fancy. I just want to be with my family and eat foods that I like. That's enough for me. So let's get started. I don't have a lot of stuff to show you. The last time I shared some spiral rib socks that I had done for myself, and then I said I was going to start another pair for my sister. And I showed you the very beginning. I think it was the toe of the first sock last time. I did finish those, and I sent them, or I went and took them to her. So she's got those now. I do have some pictures that I can put up here, and I will put the pattern that I used and the name of the designer that I used. She loved them. She was super excited to have some warm house socks and bed socks for herself. So they turned out really pretty. They were, I believe it's a worsted weight pattern, but I held 2 fingering weights together. So it turned out really cool and cozy, and I've got plenty of each skein left over to do something else with. So super cool. I will put, let's see, what was the yarns? They were both Hue Loco in the Glitz sock base, I think is what it's called. And one color was called Moon Rocks. That's they're both really gray, but one has a lot more like fuchsia pink in it. That's Moon Rocks. And then the other one that's kind of got a little bit more brown undertone to it, that one was called Woodsy. And they're very similar. So when I held them together, you couldn't even tell that they were 2 different skeins of yarn. But they were the same brand, same base. It worked out great. So I've got, I would say, little less than half of each ball left to do something else with at another time. So very fun. And apparently that got me on a sock kick. I know I had talked about a couple of times that I was going to do sweaters for my kids this Christmas, but time got a hold of me, and that's not going to happen. I'm still going to make them sweaters, but it's not going to be for this Christmas. So my son, one of my sons, and his fiance are going to get socks, and I've already started those. So I'm going to go ahead and show you some works in progress. I do have another whip to show you, but I'll show that later. Sorry, I'm tangled over here. Hold on. So these socks are a free pattern on Ravelry called the Broken Seed Stitch Socks. And they are so fun and mindless and just perfect for using up, blending two skeins together, and it just looks really, really cool. So both of them are getting the same, I'm using the same pattern, but just different colors. My son picked out the colors for both him and his fiance. So let's start with the fiance's one because I've already finished the first sock for her. So it's seed stitch. So it's basically one row of seed stitch, one row of knitting, one row of seed stitch, one row of knitting, and you're alternating. It's 1 by 1 stripes of the colors. And so when you're doing that broken seed stitch, this is what it looks like. And it's really, really cool. And I've got the main color on the toe and the cuff. In the pictures, it has the main color in the heel, but I have talked about that I love the Eye of Partridge heel. Now this pattern is basically just gives you the cast on numbers and the how to do this stitch, and it tells you to use whatever heel and whatever toe you want to. So I chose a heel flap and gusset with the Eye of Partridge, and I love it. And I chose to do it in the lighter color, the variegated color, because I love how Eye of Partridge plays with variegated yarns. It just looks so, so pretty. I love it, I love it, I love it. So these are the yarns. This first one is from, where's the tags? Hold on, I had tags. The first one is from Old Rusted Chair. Now, a couple of years ago, I went on a trip to Nashville to see Avi Kaplan in his first solo gig. And it was in Nashville. And while I was there, I went yarn shopping. And I don't, unfortunately, oh wait, no, it is. It's called, I was going to say I don't remember the name of the yarn shop that I went to, but I do. It's called the House of Yarn, H-A-U-S. And when I was there, I found this yarn. I'm trying to see if it was a particularly, yes, I got it because it's particularly from Nashville, down here. And it's called Old Rusted Chair. And the color, it's 400 yards for 100 grams. The 2-ply fingering sock, 80-20 merino nylon, superwash merino nylon. And the colorway, this is the solid color, is called Bijou. And that's this one. Oh, it's so pretty. It's, well, I wouldn't call it solid. It's a tonal, semi-solid. It's so pretty. It's mostly this rich royal purple, but you can see little blips of lighter, like almost a fuchsia color in there. And then the other yarn is the same 80-20 superwash. No, it's not. This is a different yarn base. It's 80 superwash merino, and it's got 10% nylon, and then the other 10% is actually cashmere. But it is 2-ply, 400 yards for 100 grams, and this other color is called White Sands. And this was by Sock Obsession Yarns. And this is what it looks like in the cake. So I should have a little less than half of each ball by the time I'm done, because this is what I've got after finishing just the one sock, and I barely put a dent into it. So I'll definitely be able to use these use some more after I'm done with these socks. So that's the first one. The second one, I don't have it on a blocker because I'm not done with it yet. I got strands everywhere. So this is the second sock, and it's the same exact thing. I'm gonna have the cuff and the toe in the solid color, and then the variegated color in the heel. Now, this is, he picked for himself orange and brown. And he kind of wanted orange as the main, but I don't think he realized how bright this orange is, and he's definitely not a flashy kind of person. So that's why I chose to do this, to blend the two colors. And you can still tell it's primarily orange, but the brown kind of tones this down a little bit. But I put the little bit of pop in the heel, and again, I did the same thing with the heel flap and gusset eye of partridge heel. And let's see, let's talk about these colors. I don't have the tags for either one of these, but the solid color, also semi-solid, this was a bear yarn from Knit Picks. It's their Hawthorne. It's slightly heavier than these other yarns. I don't have the thing here, but it's superwash merino and nylon, and it's, I think it's 357 yards per 100 grams, so it's slightly heavier, but you can't really tell while you're knitting with it. It's negligible when you're, you know, to touch. But I dyed, it was bare, and I dyed this a couple of times. I first dyed it with some brown from the Wilton's food coloring, but that kind of looked like a warm brown, and I really wanted it super neutral. So to cool it down just a little bit, I over dyed it with a little bit of the Jacquard acid dyes. I had silver, is it silver fox, or is it just silver? Anyways, it's the silver color. I put a little bit of that, and then I put a tiny bit of the Jacquard black just to darken it just a little bit. So it ended up being this really neutral brown. It's not really cool, but it's not warm either. And it ended up being a semi-solid tonal. So this one is one that I got years ago, maybe 5 years ago. I'm not sure. I got it off of Etsy, off a shop called Seaberry's Haberdashery. And this is again the 80/20 superwash merino and nylon, 400 yards to 100 grams. And it is called, sorry, my cakes are a mess just because they've been in and out of my bag. This color is called Red Oak. It's actually a little bit darker, but I think my light is blowing it out. It's a little bit darker than what it's showing. It's almost a red orange as opposed to orange, but there's little bits of brown thrown in there, and you can really see it in the heel. Let me see if you can pick that up. You can see that there's some browns in there. Whoops. So I'm really loving this combination, and honestly, when I see these 4 colors together, I think with whatever I have left of all 4 skeins, I might actually put them all together in one thing, because there is orange in the White Sands color. And I'm like, I think that could actually be like a cowl or something. Maybe. Could be. So that's my works in progress. I have started, where did I put it? Oh, I know where it is. Hold on, let's roll it over here. Oh. So, I'm back, and what I'm rummaging through my bag for is a cowl. Well, it's like an infinity scarf. I can't remember if it's called the Stony Point cowl or Stony Point scarf, but I'll put that up here with the name of the designer. And sorry, I had this in my purse, big giant purse, because I was doing errands today, and some of the things there was, you know, little bit of waiting to do, and I thought I would take that with me to work on, because it's super easy. It's another free pattern. I believe it was a free pattern. keys are even tangled up in it. So I've started it here. Now, I have modified it already because I did the cast on. What it was is a cast on, and then you do the body in the specified pattern, and then you do a picot bind off. And I'm doing the picot bind off in a contrast color. But I decided to, instead of just doing the regular cast on like they called for, they only had the picot on one side. I decided to do the picot on both sides. So I did a provisional cast on, and then before I got very far, I put it's one of those, I don't have the package here. It's one of the little stitch holders from Clover that you can use for like the body of a sweater, or, you know, in this case, I'm using it for an infinity scarf to hold your stitches on. So I went ahead and put that on a stitch holder, and then I picked up the provisional cast on and then did my contrast color to do the picot bind off. So this will be the same on the other side. Once I get, you know, I'm not even done finishing the bind off because picot bind offs are so slow. They're beautiful, but man, they're slow. But it's really just a garter with some eyelets. I'm pretty sure this is a free pattern, so I'm not giving up a whole lot here. The yarns I'm using, excuse me, I got a little tickle there. I'm using Knit Picks for both. My goodness, I am all over the place. Woo, okay. So I'm using Dove Heather and Cobblestone Heather. And it is going to be super soft and super squishy, and it's going to be like a long loop that you can double. So that's my third whip. And I've also got...
Hold on. Very not prepared today. I might keep that in. I might not. I don't know. Anyway.
So I do have one other thing planned. That one I didn't mention. This cowl is for my daughter. My other son didn't want socks, and he said he wanted a shawl. He wants a long rectangular shawl, and he kind of wants some color work in it. So I'll put the pattern up here. It's called Oceana, and I don't remember the name of the designer, so I'll put that up here as well. And it's a 4-color shawl, and these are the colors that he chose. He went into my stash and he chose these colors. So we've got a rust color, a turquoisey blue. It's actually more turquoisey than it looks on this. On my camera, it's kind of looking like a baby blue or a robin blue, but it's actually more turquoisey. And then we've got a fuchsia and gray. Now these colors, like, I mean, the two of these, you would think, oh, I don't know if they go together. And I was like, oh, are you sure that's what you want? And he was like, yes, that's what I want. So I ended up getting an app on my phone for Kaleidoscope, and I laid these all out really close together, and then I put this kaleidoscope view over the yarn, and it kind of swirls the colors together so you can kind of see how they look if they were touching each other in a design or in a pattern. And it's really helpful because looking at it like this, it's hard for me to visualize how it's gonna look. But using the kaleidoscope thing really helped me see how pretty it can look with colors that seemingly don't go together. Like these 3 definitely go together. These 3 definitely go together. But adding in them together is just a little odd. So I really liked the way that Kaleidoscope app helped me look at the colors and see how they would play together before I actually cut into my yarn. So let's go ahead and talk about the yarns. I don't have a tag for this one, but this is Pandia's Jewels. This was the Singularity base, which is a, what is it called? A single, I couldn't think of it. It's a single spun, but it's also got some glittery in there. That's what he was attracted to originally, was this glittery stuff going on in there. So, and this was called Gray Pearl. And then this one is also a singles, but it's from 3 Irish girls, and I've had this forever. Oh, don't look at my nails. Ew, I've been doing house stuff. And this is the Cavan fingering. I don't know if they carry this. I've had this for years, but this is called Spiced Cider. And it's a very rich rust color. It's very, very pretty. Now the other two are colors that I got, and I don't have the tag on one of these because I don't know what I do with it. But these are one of a kinds that I got off of the Breaking Yarn website for my friend McKaylee, who is based here in New Mexico. And she has on her website a section called Experiments, and that's where she does the one of a kinds. It's kind of like things where she was trying something out and maybe it didn't work to what she was looking for as far as the breaking yarn type yarn of colors, or maybe she was experimenting with a new base or different kinds of things. So those, and she puts in her experiments page, and that's where I got these. And they are both sock fingering weight. It's 75-25 superwash merino and nylon, 463 yards, 100 gram skeins. And they don't have names because they're one-offs. Really excited to see how these colors start to play with each other in the color work, and it's going to take me forever. So, and I do also have some plans for Advent, and I don't have the yarn with me, but I will be doing on my Instagram, which on Instagram I am also called the Tangled Cat. I'll be doing, like I do every December, the daily showing what color it is, because I didn't buy an Advent this year. What I did was last Christmas, or after, you know, the 26th, I went through my stash and got all my singles that were already leftovers from something else, and I doubled them up. And so basically it's going to be kind of like a DK weight, the 2 fingering weight singles yarns, different dyers, different brands, and I've doubled them up. Some of them I've doubled them up on themselves, some of them I've doubled up with a different single to make DK weight, and they're about 16 grams for each ball. And then I put them into little brown paper lunch bags, brown paper bags, and labeled them 1 through, I think it's 24 or 25. I can't remember how many I put. And they're sealed up. I know what colors I use. I just don't know which ones are coming in what order. I don't remember because it was a year ago. And I have decided to do what pattern. There's a couple that I'm planning or hoping to do. That one, that one is going to be a poncho. It's going to be a crocheted poncho, and I'll put the pattern up here in the designer. And then there's another one that I want to do, because the last few episodes I've been showing the Hirschner's 2-ply Afghan yarn that I have, and I have tons and tons of it. So I decided to use that, and it's a sport weight, but there's a pattern that I saw and I was like, oh, I don't know if I have time to do 2 Advents and then these other Christmas things, but I think I can manage it. Excuse me. But I think I can manage it. And this pattern, I was just really intrigued by it. It's kind of, they're done in wedges, And you can either do it in a half circle or a full circle that's like open at one side, you know, like it makes a circle, kind of like, I don't know what I'm saying. It's a circle that's not completely sealed, if that makes sense. But so I'm going to do the full circle part of it. So it'll still lay like a shawl. It's not going to be like a round one that I have to fold in half into a half circle. But it's got all of these colorful wedges. And so I went and went through all my 2-ply Afghan yarn and picked all the colors that I want, and I put them in the order that I want, and I've got the list. So this one's not really going to be as a surprise as the other one that I'm doing. I will also be putting those colors on my Instagram as I start working with each one every day in the morning. I'm sorry, I suddenly just got very, very itchy in my throat, and I apologize. Allergies. I don't know why allergies seem to affect me all year round. I don't know what it is in fall and winter that tickles my throat all the time. Crazy. So the last knitting thing that I'm going to talk about is the other and only other finished object that I did, which was a pair of socks. And these are the ones that I was talking about a few episodes ago, of some little tiny leftovers. And there was one, the biggest ball that I had was about 30 grams. And these were, all of these contrast colors were really, really small, less than, I think one was only like 3 grams. And then like the biggest one was probably maybe 10 grams. And then those split between both socks. And there's this one, the main color is the background. Oh, is this the, yeah, that's the side where I'm usually not one that tries to do the whole jogless thing. But if you want to see the side that doesn't have the jog, there you go. So there's this color running throughout the whole sock, and then the contrast colors coming in here. And what I really wanted to do was to have this color in the heel, but that didn't somehow work out the way that I wanted it to, the way the yarns kind of fell. And I'm sure I could have fudged it a little bit and made, you know, one stripe a little bit thicker to get it to land on this color, to land on this color in the heel, but that's fine. I like how it turned out. And again, I did the Eye of Partridge heel. These were toe up with a round toe, and then the pattern that I used is, I think I mentioned it before. It's called sock cocktail that I got from Knit Picks years and years and years ago. And it's basically, they give you charts for, I think, 8 different stitch patterns for the leg and the top of the foot. And then it gives you different options for toes and different options for heels. And they give you toe up versions and cuff down versions. So this one I did their round heel, I'm sorry, their round toe, and then the heel flap and gusset with, and I think theirs actually only shows the regular slip stitch heel. I substituted the Eye of Partridge for that because I love the Eye of Partridge. And then I just did the Jenny's Super Stretchy, is that what it's called? Jenny's Super Stretchy bind off. And yeah, it looks wonky. I don't care. Once they're on, you can't tell. And I didn't actually block these. I don't block my socks. These are just to show you. I don't block my socks, so that's fine. I might actually block the ones I'm giving as gifts, but maybe not, because I don't want to give them a false sense of hope and be like, this is what they look like. And then as soon as they wash them, they're like, happened. So I might not block them. I don't know. So that is all my knitting. I didn't do any crochet. I didn't do a whole lot. I have a lot of stuff on the back burner, and they're going to stay on the back burner until the new year because Advents and Christmas gifts and stuff. So that's that. Are you like me? Are you doing things at the last minute? I hope you get them done, and I hope you get to enjoy whatever Christmas for you knitting that you get to do. And so I'm going to go ahead and jump into books, and I'm going to talk about the ones that I did finish in November. So the first one that I want to talk about is an audiobook, Fellowship of the Ring, which is the first book in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And I'm doing it on audio because Audible has a version read by Andy Serkis, who was the voice of Gollum in the movies. And he's doing such a good job. And I got through that first book super quick. Loved it. I forgot, because I haven't read the book itself in decades. So listening to it was just such a treat. I had such a good time with it. And I got through it really quickly because I just didn't want to turn it off. Had a really good time with that. The other one was also an audiobook, and this is the third in the Dune saga. It's called Children of Dune by Frank Herbert. And they're starting to get weird. I know that Frank Herbert wrote 6 books in his Dune saga, and then his son Brian did several more books after that. I'm not going to read those, and I'm actually not going to read the last 2 that Frank did. I'm only doing these first 4. So I finished Children of Dune. Now in December, I'm going to do God Emperor of Dune. Because those still follow the main core family. And then I think the last 2, it like jumps in time, and it's the same setting and everything, but the families are different, I think, or the main characters are different. I'm not sure. That's what I've been told. I don't know. I've never read these before. So I'm going to stop at this main family because it's really starting to get, it's very different. They're all different from each other. Like Dune was very much about learning about the planet, about its inhabitants, and about the political intrigue. And then things shifted a little bit in Dune Messiah, which focused more on the family. And then this one, Children of Dune, was still focused on the family, but now it's brought back in the political intrigue, and it's like family members against family members, and it's really, really interesting. But there's a couple parts of it that I'm just like, I don't know that I can wrap my head around this. And I don't want to give anything away, so I won't say what, but I'm just having a little bit of a difficult time with it. So we'll see how it goes next month with the last book that I plan on reading in that series. Let's see what else I did. I just finished a book, actually literally today, called The Relic Master by Christopher Buckley. I don't know how I stumbled upon this book, but I thought, I've got a couple of days left before December starts, and I'm basically caught up on everything else that I was planning to read, so I was going to throw in another audiobook, and I stumbled across this one. It's set in medieval time? No, not medieval times. I think it's Renaissance. But there's this man called the Relic Master, and he goes to find holy relics to sell to people within the church, different, archbishops and all of that kind of stuff. And he tries to pride himself in making sure that they are authentic relics. But he ends up finding himself in a situation where he's having to pass off a fake as the real thing. And it's the what is it? It's the shroud, Jesus's shroud. I know there's another name, shroud of, and I can't think of it, but it's very funny because it's set in that era, in the Renaissance era. But they talk kind of modern with some of the things that some of the things they say, that's very, very sarcastic and funny. And it's just hilarious. It just makes me laugh. It's a very, one of those, like, I wasn't sure. It was like one of those gems that you just kind of, wow, wasn't expecting that. And I was just having a really, really good time with it. These guys just trying to pass off these fake relics and people finding out and then trying to keep it a secret. And it's just a bunch of, it's just a big ball of comedy. It was just so funny. It just made me laugh. And I really, really enjoyed it these last couple of days listening to it. And then I started 2 trilogies. One was by Fonda. First book was called Jade City. I liked that one, but it was kind of like middle of the road for me. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. Just kind of middle of the road. I enjoyed it, but I didn't fall in love with it. But that one basically is set in today's times, but in a fictional country, kind of like a mafia type of situation where they've got sometimes where the gangs, the clans, they call them clans. They're not really gangs, but in my mind, I think gangs. But they're clans that are not official government, but they basically run everything. And it's all revolves around these clans who have powers because they can pull out these, because they wear jade. That's why it's called Jade City. They wear this jewelry of jade that gives them certain powers, and only certain people are able to harness these powers. Not everybody can just put on a jade necklace and be able to have these powers. So only certain people. So those are the ones, they're called green bones. And those are the ones who form the major clans, are these people who can use these special abilities, extra strength, extra speed, and mostly in combat is what it is. So they basically have these gang wars, these big giant clan wars over jade at this point is what's going on. And then there's people who have synthesized this drug that can allow non-green bones to harness the power of jade, but it's very harmful to their health. But they get addicted to the power that they feel when they steal jade, because that's the only way they can get a hold of it, because they're not part of the clan, so they steal. So it's this big old kind of it just makes me think of like a mafia kind of situation. It was really good, but like I say, it was just kind of middle of the road. I I do plan on reading the next book, but not anytime soon, because I've got a lot of like really want to read books coming up. But the next book is called Jade War. I may read it later in December if I get through everything else that I've planned, but I'm not like dying to jump into the next book for that. But the other trilogy that I started reading was, I don't know the name of the trilogy actually, but the first book is called God Blind, and this is by Anna Stevens, and this is another fantasy. This is set in, it's I don't know, like there's actually an era, but you've got people who live in the woods and people who, kings, and I guess because like Game of Thrones really isn't set in a particular era, but it's kind of medievalish. And that's kind of what this book makes me feel like. But it's definitely not Game of Thrones. But it's basically, they have good gods and bad gods, and the people who worship the different countries who worship either the light or the dark are battling against each other. And there's the political intrigue, the successors to the thrones, and the who's going to be loyal to who, and all of that kind of thing. And there's one person who's basically like a seer, and he's got both gods, both the light gods and the dark gods, vying for his soul, because for some reason that I haven't figured out yet, he's kind of like the crux of the whole thing. There are some battles and stuff like that, and they're not really, I mean, they're bad, but they're not like overdone gruesome, you know. And I think so far there was only, out of that whole book, there was one scene that I was like, ew, and that kind of had to do with sacrificing to the dark gods. But it wasn't very long, and it wasn't like drawn out and anything like that. So it wasn't terrible like in another book that I read a while back, where I was like, okay, that's too much and it's too often, you keep doing it, I don't like it. So this one wasn't bad, and I finished it rather quickly, and I'm actually ready to start the next book in the, look at Freya, what are you playing with? I'm actually ready to start the next book, which is called Dark Soul, and I'll do that in December. So I'm super excited about that. And then as far as the Michael Crichton monthly read, I did Rising Sun. And if you're new, I'm just to let you know, I have been doing since February, every month, a Michael Crichton book. I've been reading them in order of publication. So I am up to Rising Sun right now. Oh, I have an alarm going off. Hold on. Okay. So Rising Sun, and this one was basically about the different technological and business practices. And I think this is early, maybe mid to late 80s, early 90s, maybe. Can't remember, but it's basically a lot of intrigue around technology, and Japan being the leaders in this particular technology, which happens to be how photos can be edited. What is the term? Photoshop. You know, people could rely on a photograph because they couldn't be heavily edited, but in this book, this was when that technology was kind of new, and video and photographs could be edited, and there was a murder that happened, and they're trying to blame it on one person by superimposing his face over the actual killers and that kind of thing. And I really liked it, but it wasn't my favorite of Michael Crichton's books. I would say he's in that book is in the lower third of the ones that I've read, but that's not really saying anything bad, because I really enjoyed all of his books. Next month is Disclosure, and I don't know what that's about. I don't know what most of these are about. If it wasn't Jurassic Park, I didn't have any clue. I have no clue what they're about. Oh, she's getting the zoomies. And let's see, I did a comic or a graphic novel, I guess, but it's called Living with Mochi. And it's just this comic about this couple's life with their new dog. It's a new pug. It's super quick, super easy to read. And it's just really cute illustrations of what the dog might be thinking, and, you know, just their new life with this pet. And it's super cute. I literally read the whole graphic novel in an hour, but it was super, super cute. I'll put a picture of the cover here. Super cute. It was just kind of one of those palette cleanser kind of books in between some of the bigger things. And then I got back to a series that I've been listening to on audio on and off throughout the years. This is by Carlene O'Connor, and it's set in Ireland. It's cozy mysteries, and this one was called Murder in an Irish Cottage. So I really like that one. I really love it because the Irish accents, you know me, I love that accent. And that's about it. The biggest thing coming up for December as far as books is War and Peace, which I've already started. I joined a read along, and this is an online read along on a Discord that I've been following. And the people that are in the read along, I've come to figure out that they read really quickly. So I started a couple days early just so I could maybe try to keep up, but I think I'm already behind. I think some of them decided they were going to read it early too, because it's a huge book. I don't have the actual book because I'm doing it on audio and ebook, because there are so many names, because it's Napoleon era in Russia. And, there's so many similar names. There's a bunch of Marys, there's a bunch of Annas and Natashas, and it's easier for me if I look at the book and listen to it at the same time. And that's kind of been helping me. I've heard that called immersive reading. So that's really helping me focus on the story and the different families and the different names, because this was back when, royalty, well, maybe they still do it, I don't know, but, family members and royalty and all of the courtiers and everything are trying to marry their children to other children's and to combine these families and everything. And it's a lot of intrigue, but I'm actually surprised because I didn't realize that there's actually quite a bit of humor in this book. I'm really, really enjoying it. For years, I thought, I'm never going to read War and Peace. It's huge and it's probably boring. Who wants to read about that? I just assumed it was going to be this dry, textbooky kind of story, and it's really not. It's really, really interesting. But it does take focus to trying to figure out which person they're talking about. If they don't actually say the full first and last name, I'm not always sure which of that first name I'm reading about. So this immersive reading is really, really helping, because the person who's reading the audiobook changes the voice for each character. So I can understand with the voice which character it is that I'm looking at on the page. So it's really an interesting concept, this immersive reading thing, but I'm having a really, really good time with it. Let's see. And the only really thing as far as TV watching, I started watching Wheel of Time on Amazon Prime. I've never read those books, but having watched these first 4 episodes, it's an epic fantasy that's basically about these women that have powers and they use it to protect the world. And there's another half to this kind of power that men used to have, but they got out of control and basically almost destroyed the earth, or the world. And it's not earth, but destroyed the world. And so now these powerful women are always on the lookout for men who are displaying these powers and also showing that they're, because it's going to eventually cause them to go crazy and do bad things. So I'm still very new to this. Apparently there's this big, huge lore behind it all. Like I said, I've never read the books. There's 14 of them. But I'm really, really loving, the magic and the storytelling and everything in the TV series. So at some point in the future, I would like to read those books. So very, very, very happy with what I'm seeing on the screen. What else have I been watching? Not a whole lot, because I've been listening to tons and tons of audiobooks. Yeah, so I'm about to turn 50. At the end of December, I will be turning 50 years old. And then on the 1st of January, this channel will be 4 years old. So super excited about that. And again, I'm very, very thankful to all of the subscribers that I've had since then, and all of the ones that I've picked up along the way. And it's a very slow growing channel, and I don't mind that. That's kind of how I roll. That's fine. I'm really okay with not having big numbers like other channels. I'm really good with that. But the ones that are here and choose to spend a little bit of your time with me, I appreciate you with all my heart. Thank you so much for being here. So December is full of holidays. So I would like to wish you all happy holidays. I will be celebrating Christmas myself. But it's probably more going to be, as far as, there'll be some gift exchanges and stuff like that. But for me, it's going to be sitting down with a good book and maybe having some snacks. I kind of want to have a plate of meats and cheeses and some grapes and black licorice. I know a lot of people don't like black licorice, but I love Good and Plenty's. So I might have some of those off to the side, and then some tea or maybe some hot chocolate, and then just sit and read all day for Christmas. Super thrilled about that. That's my plan. That is my Christmas this year. I will be seeing my kids at some point, but it may not be on Christmas just due to work schedules and stuff. So, you know, everybody has to do it how it works for them. And as long as you can find joy in it, it's okay. So here I am wishing you lots of joy this coming month. And I will see you at the end. Probably maybe the day before my birthday. Because on my birthday, I might be busy. Maybe. All right, so I will see you next time. Thank you for spending some time with me and happy knitting. Oh, I gotta go stop that. Bye.